Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdome.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdome.
Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast.
We have the one and only Mr. Tom Hutler. Do you have any of your favorite stories from the Kingdome?
There was a time we had an earthquake, and so they were going to evacuate the building. So I was like getting up to go leave, and they go, "No, you can't go. You got to read these safety things." It's like,
do we need to tell them that there's smoking's only on the exterior ramps?
Yeah. And Dave came shooting past. He signed off. I'm going, wait, I'm the only one here.
Listen and subscribe to Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we are live here, Hannah, right here on the Rye Bread and Mustard, that down on the docks, on the other side of the tracks, that 5-star dive bar podcast. Hannah, I'm going to start us off tonight with a quote. Okay, here it is. Baseball just kicks your ass sometimes. It's kind of how it is. Nobody feels sorry for us. Nobody is going to hand us any wins. We've got to create our own luck. Got to be present for the next game we get. As much as the last 2 weeks or so have really sucked, still got a lot of baseball to play, and it's June. That's from starting pitcher Brian Wu here following the end of that road trip. I definitely agree with him. I feel like it's been a shitty month. Our last 31 days, 11 and 20 in the last 31 games, I believe. You finish up this road trip that they're just coming off with one victory. You're tied with the Angels in the wild card, 2.5 games back in the wild card. You're 4 games back from Houston. But it feels like compared to years past, when they've gone on slides, it seems like there's been a lot of bad luck. It feels like you're seeing some good baseball here versus 2023 and last year, where you just really could see how anemic the team was. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or do you somewhere in the middle there?
I'm not that excited about it. You also bring your own bad luck, and we've seen that too. But they lost 7 of 8. 13 of their last 15 or something like that. It's an off day. We're talking Mariner baseball. Wow. That's my Brian Wu quote of the day.
Well, hey, I guess I should I'll let you think about your answer while I drone on here. I should have went with the other quote I could have opened up with. Quote, if they were expecting me to go in as a Seattle Mariner in the Hall of Fame, then why didn't Howard Lincoln circle back at some point when I was retired? Under this leadership, I felt the 10 years of my contribution were kind of swept under the carpet. We'll talk about that. Let's talk about We'll talk about Randy in a second. But you and we've talked here over the phone the last couple of days or text. We're seeing some hard hits, and let's hand it to Arizona in that series. They played a really good defense.
Yeah, but I I get frustrated seeing the Mariners lead. I mean, not frustrated, but it's surprising. They lead. They're leading the game in hits. The other team has a couple. We won that game in Anaheim. We're leading in this last series, and unfortunately, your best pitcher so far this year, Brian Wu, makes a big mistake to former Mariner Eugenio Suarez, and that's the game.
Oh,
That was a heartbreaker. But when things are going bad, they're going bad for us. And when things were going good for us, they were going real good for us. So I don't really know what team we are. Are we somewhere in the middle? I don't know.
yeah, I don't. And we haven't seen the team all together healthy. So you
That's
really
true.
don't know what's there. And that's not an excuse. That's something that you have to have throughout the season. You have to have healthy players that can contribute. And the Mariners just haven't been healthy since the get-go, since spring training.
Yeah, no, I mean, they haven't. I mean, last few years, they've been very healthy, and they've missed the playoffs by one game, couple games. This year, they're kind of treading water. They didn't get that huge lead and drop it like they did last year. We had a nice little cushion. Houston's gone on a massive run. We knew they would. We're like you mentioned the quote earlier. I mean, yeah, Brian Wu was right. We got what, 90 so games left to go.
97,
We're
I
three
think.
back. Yeah. There is. I mean, it's gonna come right down to it to the end of the season. I think. For me, I'm just caring about the trade deadline. What kind of moves are these guys gonna make? Are they gonna just spit in our face again? I mean, they didn't spit in our face last year. They went and got the biggest hitter out in the market. But it isn't enough. And even if we were to go do that now, I don't think that's enough for this team. But I'm curious to see how far they push their chips in. But I'm not expecting them to. We haven't seen it before.
You are correct. They went out and they got the best hitter in the market that was available.
Yep.
That was reasonably available. But they needed to get two of those guys last year. That's where they were. This year they seem to be hitting the ball a little bit better. But if you go and look at the runs scored, what they're averaging here, in this little this last month, it's not going to do it. It's looking something like the year before. Sure, April and the first half of May, the offense was carrying this team. The pitching's been inconsistent too. They haven't been healthy. I mean, we've had two guys that you would figure were going to be, on your AAA team or in the minors that have done a bulk of the starts for Logan and for George Kirby. But we have seen George Kirby come back and kind of work through what he had to work through. He basically did his spring training up here in the major leagues, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't think anybody is, but I do feel like sometimes I just want to say this, don't want to get too off track. I wish they would have longer stints in AAA, just getting things together before they get rushed back up. But it sounds like Logan's going to be back next week. So, and you have Miller since our last recording, who's now going to be out for 6 weeks. So you assume Hancock would get that spot. You would assume, right, when Logan comes up here.
Yeah, you mean over Evans? Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, and for me, starting pitching has been very good in years past. It hasn't been up to that yet this year, but it's been okay. It's been our bullpen for me on the pitching side that's been just so god awful. We've had guys that we thought we could count on, kind of Thornton, Snyder. They've just been really bad, and I mean, there's not many guys down there. I can maybe name just the two that I can count on when Dan goes to call their name. And that's been rough to watch. They need to go get an arm, since we were talking about at the deadline. Need at least an arm or two. But yeah, the pitching's going to improve. You're right. They're getting healthier. So for me, it's once they do go there 6-7 innings, hopefully. Can you go with Brash and Munoz every time, or who's going to be that next guy to stand up? I know there's been a couple guys, but they faltered at times too. And throughout this streak, for all the for all the naysayers about Julio Rodriguez, he's been on fire, having a great couple weeks. You know, and you kind of, you know, we've talked about before, you need your stars to carry the team. We've seen Cal do that. Well, Julio kind of carried us, but they didn't have any wins to show for it. So they just need to get it all going together again like they did earlier. And can they do it? Let's hope so.
Yeah, you kind of put when you're saying, excuse me, what I want to say there is you're making a good point with the who's carrying the team. It seems like you've had somebody either carrying the team or trying to carry the team in losses, but you haven't had multiple guys each game. That's really what it is. We haven't seen big offensive games from two guys in one game. We've seen one guy in each game.
Yeah,
and it's
or
been
even
spread out. Go ahead.
yeah. And even, you know, earlier on, you know, people were talking about the 7, 8, 9 hitters. They were kind of showing up and helping out Cal, you know, even if it's not just like stars, you know, just like a certain part of the lineup helping out. And, you know, that's faltered a little bit too. But, you know, it's hopefully just you know, it's this schedule coming up. It's gonna tell us a lot. That's for sure. Cleveland, Boston, Texas again. You know, I mean, those teams behind are right on our tail. I mean, another bad week and we can go from second to fourth place like that.
Yeah. I want to talk about Thornton just a little bit.
Yeah.
I was just curious because what he's doing on the field, he's definitely getting close to that. Send him down, you DFA, just off of what he's doing on the field. So I went and I just looked at his contract because I was wondering what his contract was like. Looks like he has a $2 million 1-year contract with the Mariners this year. So that's where he's at as far as that. I would assume if somebody was going to get DFA'd, as it says here in our title here, who do you think could get DFA'd? Who do you think is on the hot seat right now that's on the current roster that you think is like, man, it's nut cutting time? You know, get it together.
I mean, we could go a couple ways, you know. You go Garver, he hasn't done anything. Bring Harry Ford up, that's a possibility. I kind of think when Luke Raley gets back, I'm not thinking they're going to DFA somebody, but maybe Canzone goes back down. But he's shown some nice little, you know, in a small sample size since he's been up here for this last series. As far as the pitching side, I mean, yeah, maybe Thornton. I think, you know, he's got some good stuff at times, but he's just been a real struggle. And when I say good stuff, I mean he showed glimpses of it throughout his career these last couple of years for the Mariners. But right now, every time he spins that ball up there, it ends up right in the middle of the plate, and it gets hammered. So
and he's supposed to be that other person to go to when you can't go to Brash every day.
Yeah.
When you can't do the Brash to Munoz, you're right. That's what we're missing. We're missing that the yin to the yang with what Brash is doing. You know, Vargas has stepped up, but he's still figuring it out here too. And you're feeling better about and confident with him more and more, but still you'd think the Mariners should go out and get a seasoned back end of the rotation guy. I know there was rumors or just fantasy booking where they were talking about getting somebody like Bautista from Baltimore or somebody like or I just heard scenarios, but I was like, man, you know what? That's not crazy. That's what the Mariners really do need. They need to go get somebody that's maybe a closer on a team that's not very good, or the setup guy on a team. You got to get somebody in here. I know that there's probably somebody that they're going to pick up that we're going to go, who the fuck is this? Who's this fucking guy? And he's going to have the stuff. And I do feel confident that the Mariners can reinvent something in the bullpen. But yeah, it's been a rocky year this year, and it was a rocky year last year. It's been a couple of years since we've just had that shut down, you know, just get us to the 6th kind of bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no doubt it has been like that.
Another thing that we kept it, and listen, it's warranted when you go, what, you lose 7 out of your last 9, is that what you said? And then what, 13 out of 20 or 14 out of 20, 11
Whatever
out
it
of
is, it's not good.
yeah, all these, yeah. Sure, and you're the skipper of the team. You are going to take some criticism, but I do feel like, listen, to the people that are like what's his name, the grumpy guy from Lockdown that's always going in on Dan Wilson. It's like, is Dan Wilson that bad of a manager? I don't think so. I mean, this is his first bad stretch he's had since he's been here. I mean, we went through a decade of the last guy having bad stretches and, giving up if you're blaming it on the manager, a historic 10-game lead that just disintegrated in a matter of minutes,
Yeah.
So before I start getting crazy on Dan Wilson, this is his first bad month that he's had as far as record. And we have to give him the benefit of the doubt to maneuver through this and maybe make some hard decisions and make some cuts and make some changes.
Yeah. And, I've started to kind of analyze some of the decisions Dan's made, and I think he's made some questionable decisions. So I understand where people are coming from. I also understand what you're saying. It's kind of the first little blip on the radar for him. So we'll see how he can get out of it. But when I say some of the things that people have questioned, I mean, not going to Brash or why wasn't he available the other night, that kind of surprised me.
In the extra inning game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going with Master Boney there, choosing him when you could maybe go. I know Tellez isn't the best guy, but at least with Tellez, he can hit the ball out of the park. I know you're just looking for a few runs here, hopefully, and keep the line moving. I mean, it's just certain things like that you can look at, but that's part of it. We're all a bunch of managers sitting on our couches, analyzing it. So they just got to turn around. But I'm with you. I'm not gonna have a fire sale with Dan quite yet.
No, and you still got Edgar Martinez and you still got Kevin Seitzer. You still have, Woodworth. We got good coaching. It would be nice to see maybe some more of the success on the base pass comeback that we saw at the beginning of the year. And a lot of we knew that there was going to be a bit of that slowing down when you lost a Bliss and you lost a Victor Robles, and they seem to continue on. But when you're relying on maybe even Cal Raleigh swiping some bases, sure, maybe you got to change your game up a little bit. Dom Canzone's not a burner. I'm just thinking of the guys that are on the roster right now. But you are getting a good base runner, hopefully back here very soon. And let's talk about it as well as a hitter and a good outfielder. First base, I'd like to see him get some limited reps there, not too many. But we're talking about Luke Raley. For what the Mariners are set up to do, he's an important piece. If you were to go out and be like, he wasn't on our team this year and we acquired him right now, you'd be excited, just like when we got him a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Very smart on the base pass. Doesn't particularly hit left-handers very well, but against right-handed hitting, he can crush it. He's got some pop. What do you think about that when you saw that today?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another guy to plug in the lineup that you have some confidence in. Just another guy that if other guys aren't going well, he could pick them up. I agree. Getting back to being aggressive on the bases, and creating some chances for yourself. I mean, I'm so tired of getting leadoff doubles or guys on second base with one out and they're stranded there. So, I mean, he's a guy that can, knock them in or if, steal you some bags, like you said. He's kind of a quiet guy that you kind of just forget about how important he is to this team.
Yeah, you're right. He definitely kind of just like blends in like a wallflower for sure. Yeah. But I mean, he's not the same kind of player as a Randy Rosarena, but it's kind of similar in ways. I know they're both from Tampa, but it's like you're kind of getting somebody like what we mentioned, runs, some pop, gonna get on base, but he's left-handed. So I would assume when he comes back up here, you're going to have to not DFA. You're going to have to send somebody down. I'm assuming you're going to send Dom Canzone down because they're both left-handed. They both play in the outfield. Just Luke Raley's just a far better developed, better player right now in his career. And I would assume you're either going to send Dom down, but if Dom continues to hit well, maybe somebody might even want to take a chance and make a trade for him. As far as range in the outfield, it's not really there. He made a great throw, in the series, didn't he? But not the outfielder that him or Victor Robles are in the outfield.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Some of his routes to the balls aren't as crisp, but yeah, a nice play in the outfield, gunning down Ketel Marte, trying to tag from first on to second. I mean, it was a nice play, and I mean, there's no question about it. He's got major power, and we saw that on display. And then the next game he smoked a couple balls too, so maybe he has figured something out. I mean, it would be nice if he could make it a tough decision. I'm sure that's what he's counting on for the Mariners. I mean, then what are your other options? And Masterboni and Dylan Moore, and I personally think it would be Masterboni. But he's done some nice things for you too. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. And we talked about it in the beginning of the show, a trade deadline. You get another outfielder, another big time bat. What are you going to do then? And none of those guys we mentioned are killing it so much. So,
well, I do want to say this about Masterboni because I kind of had the same thought. I was like, what's he doing? Because he plays so sporadically. So in the last week, he's only had 12 at bats, but he's hitting 333.
Yeah.
In the last 15 games, he's only had 24 at bats, hitting 375. Over the last month, hitting 246. So actually, he is hitting. Again, I think a lot of these guys, look, Solano, he's had the best couple of weeks or month in baseball. I think he's hitting like 290 in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, 294 in the last week. So you're not going to walk away from him now because now you're getting a chance to be like, oh, this is what we went out and signed. This is what the back of his baseball card in his career has said, is that he's about a 280 hitter with not much power, but his OPS is just under 8, I think, in the last week or 2 weeks. His slugging in the last 2 weeks is over 400. His on-base percentage is just under 4. So now he's contributing. And what's so funny? After he hit that home run, which I thought I was hallucinating when I saw it. But I was watching him throw the ball around the horn, and he had another hit, I think. He was throwing the ball around the horn, and he just had this hop, skip, and a jump to him. I was like, what? He was feeling him. He's feeling himself now. You can tell his confidence is back. He's looking to the dugout when he gets a hit. I think I seen him get a hit. I don't know where I was, either Sacramento or it was one of the towns I was watching them in, and he hadn't had a hit in a very long time, and he got a hit, and he was almost looked like he was embarrassed or shamefully didn't want to look at the dugout and make any gestures. He's just like, all right, I might have a job still tomorrow, yeah. So
you're right. I mean, confidence is a hell of a thing in this game, and he's got it going right now. And yeah, he's turned it around finally. If we're talking about other guys, I mentioned Dylan Moore. I just can't see them doing it. He's absolutely struggled from where he was at the beginning of the season. Sure, he was just so on fire, 7 home runs. But now, I feel like he's striking out a ton. For being a Gold Glove utility player, I feel like he's kicked some balls in the field a little bit here and there. I just can't see the M's doing anything where they would send him down. I don't know if he has options or anything like that, but the guy that's just doing absolutely nothing for you right now, like I mentioned earlier, is Garver, but he's done a decent job behind the plate, but he's just cannot handle the heat whatsoever, it looks like, when I'm watching him up at the plate.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to be what Scott Bradley was to Randy Johnson way back in the day. Just kind of like, it seems like he's there just to be Kirby's catcher, because he has turned in some great performances with Garver behind the plate in the last year or so.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on the whole Garver thing. And, the contract's a huge thing of it. The other thing is, if you were to give Harry Ford a run just to see what he can do, you're going to have to either get rid of Garver and eat the money. But I mean, he's giving you less than what Mitch Haniger was giving you, and you walked away from that. He's giving you less than what Tavares was doing, a little less money though, but you're right, he's not doing much. He's I think he's right now at 200, but I mean, he's for over a year and a half. We've been waiting for him to hit, and he's just not doing it. So
Yeah.
he's gonna do it now.
Yeah, and I kind of feel bad for him. He had a lot of hate, irresponsible and just wrong kind of hate towards him last year, and was really hoping that, he would bounce back this year, but he just hasn't. And I mean, it is what it is. You're a major leaguer. We need you to hit, and it's too bad. I thought he'd have kind of a better year so far.
And you were talking about Dylan Moore. It doesn't feel like he hasn't done anything in a while. So at the time of this right now that we're recording, I got to throw this up on the screen because when you say he hasn't done anything,
he hasn't done anything.
I'm going to show you his splits. In the last 7 games that Dylan Moore has played, his batting average is 0-0-0. He has 11 strikeouts in his last 14 at bat. In the last 2 weeks, 15 games, 18 strikeouts, hitting 094. Yeah, in the last month, he's hit under 200.
I mean, he's a streaky player. We've said that for now a
Yes.
couple of years that we've talked about him, and he's on the wrong side of it right now, no doubt.
And let's just food for thought say, hypothetically, what type of player is Dylan Moore? Is a utility player, can play everywhere. Master Boney, utility player, can play most places. Dylan Moore can play more. You also have Cole Young that you brought up, who also can play a few other places around the infield. Let's just say he continues hitting. I'm just talking about Cole Young. Master Boney continues to do what we've seen right here. You could part ways with Dylan Moore. You could trade, because I feel like Dylan Moore, I know he's the longest tenured Mariner, and he has a nice little contract, not very big at all. I'm sure other teams are probably looking for another utility player. We need no more utility.
I know.
No more. We can afford to part with one of these players that plays multiple positions, that doesn't give you much power, that whatever they can do offensively is kind of gravy. So that's going to be something that I'm just interested in seeing. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just floating that out there, that maybe some other team is going to be interested in one of these utility players, because some teams don't have 15 of them like we do.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cole Young. I mean, for kind of struggling for the first series or so he played, and I think he went like 1 for 15. I've certainly liked what he's done lately. I think he's a fantastic defender, and the bat, looks good. And he's got a couple hits in multiple games. Since he's a young player, you could think of sending him down if something. But I like what he's done, and I hope he continues to stay as long as he continues to hit and play the good defense that he has shown.
Now, the trade deadline is at the very end of July. And but right now it seems like all the talk is going on, as we get closer to the All-Star game. But I feel like, even though we're going to talk about it here briefly, I don't see anything happening for a while. And I think that's always going to be the trend now. It's going to be less every year and later, because of how many teams can be in contention for the wild card. So again, I feel like we're going to run into, and it seems like everybody's saying this when you listen to anything, you're going to run into the situation you had last year, where there's not much. and it's a seller's market.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that's what's so frustrating, at least me personally. I mean, everybody's talking about Naylor this week. He makes 11 million. That's nothing. He's a great player, all-star last year. Well, you could have had him this offseason, and we seem to not go after players in the offseason, but then we talk about these guys at the deadline. And I mean, I don't know. It seems like they cost a little more this time of year. So that's a frustrating thing that confuses me about the Mariners as well, just when they decide to acquire players.
Yeah. They buy players like somebody going and buying like a used car.
Yeah.
They don't buy new. They never ever get somebody. Well, I shouldn't say never ever. Look, they got Randy Rosarena. They went out and got him when he's supposed to be in his prime. He was having a bit of a dip last year, but he's in that age area where this is the prime of your career. They went out and they got Luis Castillo before in his prime. But yeah, they've made some bad decisions over the years. And I want to I'm going to show you that right now. Somebody who put this out? Was it Coastal Cards on let me see, on X or on Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Just talking, and I'll put this chart up because it's and also depressing. But it's Mariners baseball, so there's always a little bit of depressing there on the side. We'll talk about Josh Naylor a little bit here. Let me show you this. So basically, it's notable Mariner offensive acquisition since 2020, and a couple of these names might be triggering to you, but here we go. Luis Torrens, Ty France, Taylor Trammell, Jake Bowers, Abraham Toro, Adam Frazier, Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez, Carlos Santana, Kurt Casale, Jake Lamb, Teoscar Hernandez, Cooper Hummel, Colton Wong, Josh Rojas, Dominic Canzone, Ryan Bliss, Luis Urias, right? How did we say his name? Luis, whatever. Debbie Zavala, Mitch Haniger, Luke Rayleigh, Jorge Polanco, Samad Taylor, AJ Pollock, Tommy LaStella, Mike Ford, Mitch Garver, Victor Robles, Justin Turner, Randy Arozarena, Donovan Solano, Miles Masterboni, Rowdy Tellez, Yodi Tavares. I mean, just getting that many people, first of all, the last 5 years blows your mind, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, you can name no more than, on one hand, some okay players. The rest of them are fringe players. They're not the type of player we need. We need some guys that are upper echelon, to.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the time, you could only say Winker.
Yeah.
From where he was at. I won't even throw Suarez in there because he was a throwaway. Like the intent wasn't there. Teoscar Hernandez.
Yeah. And Santana.
Santana. But even he was kind of down. Yeah, but that was a good pickup. But he wasn't even at his, he was at that, how's his career going to go? And he's just kept ascending. Randy Arozarena. And then, maybe Adam Frazier at the time because he was an all-star. So you're right. So there's only 4 or 5 that are real game changers out of all of those names.
Yeah.
But that's who they're targeting, or that's what they are settling for, or making us settle for. Okay, with that being said, I know that this is pretty much a war chart, but as you can see, added 34 offensive players to the 26-man roster. Those 34 have combined for 29.9 F-WAR. Oh, only 2 compiled below 3 F-WAR. Let's see, what else did he say here? Have had 11 players since 2023 for a total of 3.4 F-WAR. Last 4 ads have combined for 1.8 F-WAR. So out of all of that, all the entire total of all of those players, only 29.2 if you're into war and all that shit.
Yeah, it's a useful stat, no doubt.
And that was actually by Gauge, the Gauge page.
Okay, but like we said, that there's only a handful of those guys that are anything for the Mariners, But yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Josh Naylor. I mean, I looked at where Arizona is. I mean, the Mariners kind of gave him a little bit of CPR, breathe some life into them. With the 3-game sweep, they pulled themselves up to 500. They actually have a better record than the Mariners. So I know that their division is tough, but you also could slide in the wild card in NL. They're only 4 games back in the wild card. So who knows if he's going to be available? He is on a contract year, if you didn't know that. Like you said, he's making about $11 million. He's making less than Mitch Garver. We'll just get that out there. But yeah, right now he's hitting 300, 8 home runs, 45 RBIs, almost 80 hits. So I mean that would be a great pickup. And again, Mariners could have went out there and got him, went and made the trade. They did it. Another name that we keep hearing is Ryan O'Hearn, but I also don't feel like Baltimore is going to be ready to sell anytime soon.
Yeah, it's hard to say. They've had a real screwy year. Don't have any pitching. I mean, that's what you mentioned, Arizona. I mean, those guys flat out hit the ball this last week. For me, I feel like they're probably in the market for pitching. And I just don't see them unless, we still got a month to play. We've seen what the Mariners done here recently in a month. They could fall out of it. I mean, it's still early, but and you talk about O'Hearn. Yeah, I've heard a lot about him. Left-hander, I can't see how has he been hitting lately? What's his stat?
He's over 307 right now. It's very similar to Naylor's, not as many RBIs, but that's also probably because how many people are getting on base for him in Baltimore. Another guy that this is the last year on the contract. I think for the outfield position, I know that other people have brought up Luis Robert, another outfielder. I'm trying to think of Mullins, who's also on Baltimore, but also feel like the need for an outfielder is really going to depend on what Luke Raley can do, and B, where is Victor Robles in the next 4 to 5 weeks in his recovery?
Yeah, definitely. It seems like Robles is. I'm personally not counting on him, but I haven't heard anything to suggest that either. But yeah, I mean, we my problem with this whole thing is we knew what these issues were before the season. We didn't address them, and what do you know? We still have the same issues. Third, first, and a lot of people were counting on Robles in right field. He had his best year, in a long time with the Mariners. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to continue that. He got hurt. So we can't answer that question. So, I mean, yeah, there's
another guy right there. I'm throwing him up on the screen. He, if it was going to be anybody, I'm sure glad it was Gino. I didn't actually see it in real time. I just saw the 4 on the board. And then I looked down at my phone and I kept seeing, sarcastic tweets and things where, oh, well, I'm happy for Gino. But I think we'd all love to have Eugenio Suarez back. As far as the infield, besides first base, Ben Williamson, man, what a glove over there at third base. Definitely could be the future third baseman of the Mariners, especially if he can, develop offensively. But right now, anywhere on that infield, especially second base and first base and third base, if you can get some instant big time offensive help that does not hurt you in the field, you got to make a move this year. I just think.
Yeah, especially with how down this division is. I agree. It's just, it kills me to know that we had this guy and he loved it here, and we shipped him out and we haven't replaced anybody with him. Yeah, and I agree with you. I like Williamson. Got a decent glove, made some great plays. I love the way he battles up there. It might not be the prettiest at bats. Might dunk one in and there over the second baseman, but he fights off tough pitches. And he's only played 30, 40 games in the big leagues, but yeah, Eugenio, for sure I'd take him back.
Yeah, I'm happy with those rookies, but I would feel better if we had an established, player out there at one of those spots, especially with these younger guys that, hey, maybe they can play a little short, maybe they can play a little second, maybe Eugenio can DH. But look, 52 RBIs, 19 home runs, OPS over 8. Batting average is about what you expect from Eugenio, the 233. That's, he can be somewhere around 220 to 45. That's just where he's going to hit. What's his career batting average? 248. So,
with 3 grand slams this year. I mean,
he's a team leader, and he's the kind of player that can put a team on his back, and he's clutch, and he has that clutch in his DNA.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we went through pretty much all of the stuff that's on our thumbnail, except for one thing. We'll go to a quick little break, and we'll come back, and we're going to talk about Randy Johnson in the booth. We'll finish up with that because that's probably the thing that I'm most excited to talk about. We'll do that right after this.
Mariners approved the script. We go down to Arizona, and we present the commercials to all the guys, and they all liked it. Buhner came in. He said, "Yeah, that's fun. I'll do that." Lou said, "Yeah, I'll do it but I don't want to take all damn day." So he said, "Okay, Lou, we'll get you in and out in an hour, I promise." And then Bosio and Randy came in together. So we showed Randy his commercial. We had little storyboards. Here's Randy dressed as a carnival knife thrower, and he said, "Yeah, that's cool. I can do that." And Bosio liked it, and he said, "Yeah, that's really neat. What do you got for me?" And he said, "Chris, you're going to love this. You're a gruff, tough, right-handed pitcher who doesn't back down to hitters. What's the occupation you're least suited for?" And I show him the picture, a ballerina in a tutu dancing to Swan Lake. And his smile turned to a frown. He goes, "Are you effing kidding me?" Meanwhile, Randy's laughing his ass off. He goes, "Give me that thing. I'm going to hang it up in the clubhouse." And Bosio says, "The hell you are." And he takes it and he rips it in half. And he rips it in half again. And it's like, he says, "I'll do a commercial for you guys. I'm not going to do that goddamn commercial." Yes, sir. We got it. So we go back to the hotel. We have a few drinks. We try to come, because we're shooting it in 2 days, come up with some ideas. So we finally come up with an idea that, again, the toughness of Bosio, but instead of a ballerina, he is a dentist who doesn't believe in Novocaine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's pulling teeth from this poor guy. But there was, and they were pretty well received, the commercials. But there was a lesson there, which is it's okay to have fun with the players, but don't make fun of them.
Right.
And
Right.
that's that line in comedy. A cheap laugh isn't always a good laugh.
All right. So, probably the biggest highlight of the entire road trip, it wasn't Kirby's dominant performance. It wasn't Cal Raleigh going crazy over the weekend. It's got to be, to me, Randy Johnson, game 2 in the booth down at Chase Field. Wouldn't you say, Hanno?
Yeah, I mean, it was just interesting. I mean, it wasn't interesting. It was awkward, but hilarious. You could tell he was definitely triggered and affected by the notion that he didn't give it his all there, and that he was breaking down. And before they finally sent him packing, to Houston, and he holds Howard Lincoln responsible.
Yeah, it's funny because Carl Tart had asked me, he goes, what? He just texted me randomly. This must have been when they made the announcement for Randy Johnson getting his number retired. And he said, why did it take him so long? And I said, well, we're going to talk about it on our podcast. I said, it's really a long story. And you know, when we talked about Randy first getting his number retired, we played his video, that 3-minute video, and he was using words like this ownership and the other ownership, and he was beating around the bush, but he was planting seeds that something was coming next now. And I know you listened to this on the you're watching the television broadcast, so that's what this is right here. There he is. Danny O'Neill's tweet. Yeah, we quoted. We use this quote at the beginning. So basically, when he was in the booth with them, this is a great picture too. It's got Angie and Goldie like looking into the camera with that. Like, we're not endorsing what he's saying, but we're listening. We're not part of this. We're not part of this. So we don't want to get any trouble. Look at Angie. Goldie.
Yeah, and they got someone in their ear going, all right, let's wrap it up. Wrap, you know.
They're just like, we got to pivot. We got to pivot.
I mean, I give Angie a lot of credit. You know, she went on with her question after he rambled that off, and everybody was like, whoa. And she, you know, stumbled over her words a little bit. I mean, I would do the same thing too, but she got the question out and changed the subject really quickly. It's not an easy transition in that instance at all, but yeah, that was funny. It was classic.
And just that the picture too, where Randy Johnson's kind of got his hand, like where he's just really conveying something that's like getting something off his chest, off his shoulders. However, you know, he is wearing a Mariners polo on the broadcast, even though we're in Arizona. I mean, if there's any place that he's going to flex and he's going to feel comfortable, and you're like, hey, you're at my fucking house. I am a Hall of Famer. I won a World Series here. I won multiple Cy Youngs here. They love me here. And he's basically saying, I just didn't feel that love, especially after I left. And he wanted to clear that air too, that it obviously wasn't his choice to leave there. And whatever he said there on the broadcast, he took it over to the radio broadcast. And as you know, people can get a little looser on the radio. And let me tell you, the energy with Rick Riss, Mr. Positivity, Mr. I'm going to set you up for some softballs, okay? Rick Riss, I think he started off by going, well, we got Randy in the booth. And not only do we have Randy, we actually have 2 Randys in the booth today. And he wasn't lying, because in the booth with them, and you sent me the picture, I did hear him say this. And we'll pull this up right now too. In the booth with Rick Riss and Randy Johnson was Randy's big head character that runs around the bases. So at this point, I mean, look at this picture. Rick Riss, double thumbs up. They both got these big shit-eating grins, and they're both smiling big. And we even put this out, like Randy Johnson smiling with Rick Riss prior for going in on the kill for Howard Lincoln on the radio. So he definitely went on the kill, because right away he sets him up. He goes, Randy, look, you're a Hall of Famer. You're a Mariners Hall of Famer. They're retiring your number. And instead of going like, yes, I'm honored, right away, you know, he basically just did the same routine where he was like, yes, Kevin Martinez and John Stanton have been working on this for a while. I don't know what the problem was with Howard Lincoln. And Rick Riss just immediately was like, oh, yeah, that 1995 team. You know, he's getting into that stuff. And he's like, you know, people think, and Rick Riz is trying to do the broadcast too. And it was a quick inning. And I'm sure the producers are like, well, thank God. I think there's a quick out right away. And Randy Johnson like cuts him off while he's doing the broadcast. And he's like, he goes in, I just want, I didn't leave. People don't understand. I didn't leave. I was traded. He was like, and also it was a year after I went, what I think he said, I went 21-4. So, and I was runner up in the Cy Young. So if there was any doubt that I was old or I was, damaged goods, you could have just looked back at that. And he was, Rick Riz was like, yeah, it was a great year. And that 95 year. And he's like, yeah. And we, in 1995, he goes, I just found this out. It was really weird. Because he goes, I just found this out. It was a shortened season because we were coming out of the lockout, but I still made 30 starts. And out of those 30 starts, the team was 27-3. And we're going back, and he was like, Rick Riz jumps in there again. And he's like, oh, yeah, that 1995 team. And he goes, yeah, if us and the other guys and the collective people from the past didn't have those kinds of seasons back then, there wouldn't be anybody playing over there. And Rick Riz is like, yes, you're right. Some people say you guys saved baseball. And he goes, look, when I threw my first no-hitter, there was only 20,000 people spread out through the kingdom. In 1995, we had 50,000 people, and I was trading for the guy they traded for me. So, he was definitely flexing in the booth. He had his big head. He was feeling himself, and I was loving every minute of it. And it was just like a sketch you would see where Rick Riz was doing everything he could possibly do to just sprinkle, just sugarcoating everything Randy was saying. Such a company guy.
Yeah, I mean, and besides, I don't know if I heard it this interview or just a while longer. Maybe it was when he got introduced and was it got announced he was going to have his number retired. He also mentioned, besides the traded part that you were mentioning here, he also mentioned that he heard or thought another issue for him was why he didn't go into the Hall of Fame with a Mariner cap on. And you mentioned from Carl, like, why hasn't he had his number retired? I never once really assumed or took it personal or even thought that he would go in as a Mariner personally. I mean, he had a great career in Seattle, but he had an above average, unbelievable end to his career with world championships and multiple Cy Youngs with Arizona. So, I mean, I don't know who was upset or thought that or brought that up. I mean, do you have that same opinion about Randy going into the Hall of Fame wearing a Mariner hat?
No, I had no question in my mind he was going to pick Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, he had more Cy Youngs there. He had more success there. The Mariners gave up on him a bit early. We definitely, as a fan, we were definitely hurt by that, pissed off by that. I remember standing outside the stadium, not being able to get into the game when Randy Johnson came back and returned. I think it was like right when Safeco Field opened up. Could not get in the stadium. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you remember where you were when he was traded from the Mariners? We were together.
Were we? Where were we? Remind me. Was I drunk?
We were at the Garden Block, Golden Gardens.
Oh God, I do remember now. So I was drunk. Yeah, that was one that always hurt, but I always remained a Randy Johnson fan. I mean, and we've talked about it before. Randy Johnson, one of the most prickly bastards, and he's always that way. He's just always been that way. I remember getting autographs from him as a kid outside the north entrance, whatever, B or A, the north end of the kingdom. And he'd be just so pissed off he had to sign autographs. But he'd sign them, but you'd have to walk with him. And then when he'd get to his car and open up his car and get in, that was the end of it. He's just always been a salty guy. I remember when he shoved the cameraman down when he was on the New York Yankees going to take his physical when they were signing him. I mean, this guy owned the inside of the plate on people. He was, you know, a Nolan Ryan-esque pitcher. And there's the famous story too, where Nolan Ryan took him to dinner and straightened him up. And ever since then, since that moment, he turned into the big unit from there. And I mean, he was definitely one of those big sports enigmas. And I'm glad he's, you know, we already know he's in the Mariners Hall of Fame, but yeah, the 51 was definitely always a question of when and are they going to retire it, and are they going to retire both of them? How are they going to do that?
Yeah,
Because
and
both were such big parts. Maybe Ichiro might have more of the numbers and the totals, you know, that, you know, are make him stand out more, I guess. But Randy Johnson was on more playoff teams and had big playoff moments and clinching moments. Like we talked about it before. People want to point out Cal and Cal's clutch moments and Cal's clincher. And it's like Randy Johnson had the clinchers in the 90s. A lot of people, especially the younger fans or the people that just joined on to be Mariners fans, might not know that.
yeah, I mean, and I was also interested too in trying to figure out, well, why hasn't Randy's number been retired? Do the Mariners have this prerequisite of you have to be in the Hall of Fame, you have to go into the Hall of Fame as a Mariner? But I'm certainly glad that he's getting his number retired. I think for sure it's great to have two 51s up there. They both deserve it, and it's awesome. So I'm actually excited for his day next year. It's going to be interesting to see if he is just getting this off his chest now, or, you know, it would make it awkward if he brought this all up during his, you know, inauguration speech on the pitcher's mound with, you know, his teammates there. You know,
I mean, if he goes a little bit Salty Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and has Howard Lincoln, you know, John Stanton, Kevin Martinez, you know, off to his left sitting over there. That would be a little awkward, but I'm sure, you know, are they going to ask to see what he's going to say before he gives his speech? You know,
yeah, we're going to need to see your speech, Randy, and we're going to have to put it on a teleprompter for you. Also, if you want to just hear the radio side, this guy posted it, Coastal Cards at Coastal Cards Co. He has I don't know if he's the one who found it, but he
yeah, it's him. He's the one who did it.
Yeah, he screen recorded it. Genius. But you could go check out that 4-minute. I've been listening to it like you know, like when you hear a new banger or something like that. You know, like when you're like, ooh, I really like this Sabrina Carpenter song, and you play it over and over. Oh no. But I've been listening to this. I like wash the dishes listening to it. I relax. I do yoga to it.
It's comical though, like you mentioned though, with Riz trying to steer it back, get the train back on the tracks and change the subject, and Randy's not finished with his thought yet and keeps on going. It's a classic.
I mean, I gotta look at this photo one more time. I mean, this is the madman right here. This like I'm about to just look at him smiling. I don't know if this was before or after he went in for the kill.
Yeah, it's definitely the calm before the storm, that's for sure.
Yeah. But that's a definite go check it out. I'm sure there's more to it. And like I'm glad Randy was like reiterating the fact, hey, I didn't want to go anywhere. They didn't want to sign me. They wanted to get rid of me. That's why I left. So don't get mad at me that I went on and had a career. And why am I punished for it when you didn't want?
Yeah, he mentioned that. You're right. He was not a free agent. He was traded. He made that very clear.
Yeah, and let's be fair. Griffey asked for a trade. A-Rod burned the Mariners and left. Randy Johnson did not ask for a trade. Ichiro, I don't even believe he asked for a trade. He was okay with a trade. He had a no trade clause, but seems like just honorable men wore number 51 for the Mariners.
Yeah.
It's a good place to land it. All right, we're close to running out of time here. We'll be back either Sunday or Monday. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we're still surviving here in this crazy world. Hey, you know what? When you're out in the streets and you want that street cred, right? Street cred's important, right, Hanno?
Yeah, I'm rocking the rye bread.
Yeah, you're rocking the rye bread. You got the street cred. Hit up at simply.cora, at simply.cora. Check her out on Instagram. Hey, don't tell her I told you this, but hit her up in the DMs. She'll hook you guys up. Or you can also just go through Rye Bread Mustard on Instagram. Check out our Facebook. Hey, we're on X. Pretty interactive, so come and join the fun. Also, in the Clutch apparel, they got every team. They got all kinds of players. All the money goes to the players. They're licensed to the players. Goes past Fanatics and the team, so you don't have to worry about John Stanton getting any of that money. They actually got a brand new dumper shirt that I've shared on Instagram. That's pretty dope. We'll go over there, put in promo code Rye Bread and Mustard, save yourself some money. Anyways, that's all the house cleaning we have. Again, this is the Rye Bread and Mustard and Mariners podcast. Down on the docks, on the other side of the tracks, 5-star dive bar podcast. With that being said, Hanno, you know what time it is.